Next, inside Illinois business. After cutting regulations at the national level and the Congress passing a tax cut in December of 2017, the national economy is now growing at a much faster pace than it had previously. We talk with Dennis Bringuet, the owner of a sign company in Springfield, to hear how these changes have impacted his business and his employees. This runs about 15 minutes. All right, Dennis Bringuet, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois Channel. And one of the things we wanted to talk to you about, as we have in the past, you're a manufacturer, and last time we talked, we were kind of bemoaning the state of the economy in many ways, both in Illinois, certainly, but also somewhat in the United States. As we tape this on Friday, we're going to get the second quarter GDP numbers that people are now saying will come out, they're estimating north of 4%. But the real rubber meets the road, not in economic statistics, but in a place of business like this and with an employer like you. What has your experience been over the last 18 months or so since we've had a change of administrations, since we've had the tax policies changed last December?
Well, we've been very blessed. We've got very good customers that have been loyal to us and a good crew of people. In fact, the crew is growing. Back when we last spoke, we had 49 employees. We were basically stopped from growing because once we reached 50, we had a real problem because that's when the Obamacare mandate came in, and our CPAs crunched the numbers and said we would have some serious problems. So we were stopped at growing to 49. Now with the current administration, they eliminated an executive order that stopped the employer mandate. So we went from 49 employees up to 63 employees now. And so that's obviously been a blessing for not only us, but the community. I mean, people needing jobs. So that's been very good. Then the employees got a boost when there was new tax laws came into effect. That was good for them as well as the company. We were able to reinvest in more equipment and the future growth. So
because you're incorporated, I would imagine.
Correct, we are incorporated. Yeah.
So the tax went from about 35%. There was some deductions, but on the face of it, 35% down to 21%. So
right. So we were able to take those additional funds and do some good things to ensure that we're going to be able to. We bought a new truck and bought a new printer, and we're able to share some of that with the employees as well. So we're starting a new food program using some of those funds for a healthy food delivery for our employees.
You know, and that's something I think a lot of times people maybe don't appreciate. They think, well, when you cut the taxes, it's just a freebie, and the corporate leaders are going to be, I mean, first of all, they think of a corporate as being a much bigger place, like, an international corporation. So many of our corporations are like this, relatively small businesses, we say. But in a business, when you are in manufacturing, I would guess that as I look around, you have all kinds of modern technology, but we all know the changing nature of technology doesn't remain stagnant, so you probably always have to be looking to stay current and reinvest in it just so that you're not falling behind the competition.
Absolutely, good point. We're in it's not like when I started. My grandfather started a business in 1940. We brushed signs by hand with a brush and paint, and that was good for us all. But now you really need to know technology. We've got lasers, we got CNC routers, we got 3D printers. So the technology, you have to keep up with it. If you're not growing, you're dying. So we've been blessed with a lot of my two sons, my nephew, my sister are in the business. So it's good family business. But we really have been blessed with good customers that make it happen.
As you talk to other people in the business community, they may not be manufacturers as you are. Maybe they're in the service industry. But what do you hear? Because you're a business to business primarily, I would say. You're constantly talking to other business owners. Do you have conversations with them about how business is going and how maybe it has changed over the last 18 months or so?
Well, generally speaking, it's good. It's definitely an uptick. It changes. I mean, we still really appreciate and work greatly with our local accounts, but we have had to diversify to where we do more regional and national accounts as well. And I think that's one of the things that's changing with a lot of franchises around. But we're again expanding as the opportunities are there, and the tariff situation will undoubtedly affect us in some way. But cost of aluminum and steel has gone up temporarily. But I think the long-range goal is to do some negotiating. If U.S. I think has been hurt for many, many years by other countries that are taking advantage of us in the tariff situation. And so I think something had to be done, and I think there's going to be some temporary pain for some of us, but in the long run, I think it's going to work out better for the whole country.
As we stand here now, the unemployment rate nationally is around 4%. It's a little bit higher in Illinois, but when unemployment gets to be this, relatively speaking, low, and you just mentioned you added approximately 13 or 14 new people over the last year and a half. Are you finding it, how difficult is it to find people to hire who have the skill set that you're looking for?
Well, unfortunately, back many years ago, we stopped having vocational classes in high school and all, and that has hurt a lot of different industries. Like, for example, our industry, we have electrical skills, sheet metal skills, welding skills, spraying skills, graphic designers, and on and on. And it's hard to find those people that have those skills. However, like Lincoln Land Community College is doing a great job with their career center, where they're teaching some of those skills. And college is good for a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that don't have to have college that can learn a skill. And I think if some of those people, like when they're in high school age, are not really sure what they want to be, if they want to come in and shadow some certain businesses even for a few days, they may determine if that's a skill they really want to go to college and come out with perhaps a pretty hefty loan that they're going to have to start paying back. They may not need all that college education for some folks. And the skills labor that we have, they're well paid. Plumbers, electricians, and all, they're well paid now.
Yeah, I know just from talking to others in a lot of fields, the so-called blue-collar workers are making more than the white-collar workers. So that's true, and as you mentioned, they don't have to go through 4 years of college necessarily. In some instances you need that, but not for every job out there that's going to have a good paycheck. Let me ask, not to be partisan, but we talked about the tax cut and just the growth of the economy and how that's helped. Are there any policies, if you had the ear of Illinois lawmakers, and of course now we're in an election year, we have the governor and Mr. Pritzker running along with a couple of third-party candidates. But what, in the broad scheme of things, is there anything that you would say to them about what might be changed at the state level that would help, or I don't know if anything comes to mind?
Well, obviously, you have to get a handle on the pension situation. That's just totally out of control. But I think that there are other things that can be done. That regulations have really hurt us. I think it's hurt a lot of businesses. I think for every regulatory new law that's passed, perhaps they should consider a law that would eliminate 2 or 3 other old regulations that we still have to comply with that may be outdated, or regulations that stifle industry and are creating hardships.
Can you explain, because I think when people sometimes people hear this and they think, oh, those businesses just don't want to, they want to be able to pollute more, they want to do this more. I mean, how does a regulation impact the operation of a business when you say just that some of the, and I look at what the president had cut a lot of regulations, so even before the tax cut, the economy started moving because some of the regulations that were being cut back in 2017. I don't know if you have any instant or anything to offer as far as what's being done and how that impacts the business when you have a high regulatory environment.
Well, for example, when we moved into our new shop here 6 years ago, we had to make a decision on whether we were going to do neon in-house or do it out with some other folks that we partnered with. We chose not to do it in-house because of all the regulations regarding mercury, which, mercury, obviously you don't want to dump a lot of mercury anywhere, but however, as a kid, I used to use it to polish dimes and nickels and stuff, and I'm still living, so I think it's like a lot of things, and just don't overdo it. But EPA makes it a little bit tough to doing some of those things. Even some of the neon transformers, EPA said, oh, well, they must have PCBs in them, and we indicated no, those are the larger transformers that are on power poles. Well, we had to pay $12,000 to have lab studies done and have testing and an attorney to prove that we were correct. And so that $12,000 to any small business is impactful. Yeah.
As you now look to the future, and is there anything else that you would say to at the federal level? We have the president talking about cutting taxes a little bit more, 1% more in the corporate tax, maybe some other things on the personal. Is there anything or anything else that you would say, hey, this would help as far as helping the American businessman grow?
Well, I think that the federal level is on the right path now. I really do. They're tough decisions, and not everyone's going to be favorable, but I think you really have to go with what's good for the majority of people, not a small group that might have a better lobby than another group. But I do think that health care is obviously a huge issue, and hopefully they can make a few changes there to make it available to everybody, but at a reasonable price. And so I think there's just good common sense needs to be used in a lot of legislation. So.
One last thing I should have asked earlier. When we had the tax cut, in the marginal tax rates, I presume your workers also got a little bit more in their paycheck. Was there any discussion of that? Were they surprised at how much more they got, or was there not much of a reaction?
The reactions we got obviously were good. Most of them got close to $1,000 additional, so I think that is certainly impactful to any family, and that obviously if it's going the right direction, they would prefer to have even more. So I think that's a good thing.
Dennis Bringuet, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.